Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be looking at OG Aragi's Spectre gameplay. I really hope this hero is not back in the meta. I don't like Spectre. I don't like playing with Spectre. I like playing against Spectre. I don't even know what I'm saying. Spectre can come back into the meta. I'll just start picking Razor and Viper and dumping on them in lanes. Nonetheless, what we're going to be doing in today's video is we're going to take a look at the drafting phase quickly, talk about why they even picked Spectre in the first place. I think if you're going to pick this hero in pubs, I recommend picking it with some circumstances in place, and then take a look at his gameplay and see what makes it a good Spectre game. All right, let's get into it. Also, I want to tell you guys that if you've been struggling with solo queue and you're looking to get to the next rank, I'm going to be able to help you. Like, literally, with the gameleap website, I'm going to give you guys guides that are going to make it unbelievably clear on what you need to do. So if you've been stuck in the solo queue grind, you don't know what to do, and you want to become absolutely broken, but like actually you want to become much better at Dota, and you want to take it more seriously, the gameleap website is going to help you do that. So click the link down below. I'm going to help you get to the next rank, and I'll see you there. So first things first, when you want to pick Spectre, I think there's two main things I would want on my team. Number one is a lane dominating position 5. That's going to be the Jakiro here. Other heroes that are good with Spectre are Undying. I think Witch Doctor is one of my favorites. I actually love Witch Doctor with Spectre. I think Voodoo Restoration at level 1 is really good with the hero, and Maledict at level 2. Big fan of that build. After that, you want stuns. They have 3 stuns, 2 hard initiators to set up for Haunt. Right? Anytime you Haunt, you don't really want to go in first. You can click Haunt to give vision, but you still kind of want to go in second until you have 3 or 4 items. And then the second thing I would want to look for is immobile supports. Immobile supports. Okay, this is the key here. These 2 heroes. All right, neither of these heroes like Spectre at all. Primarily for the Manta timing. How in the world does Shaman and Bane deal with the Manta timing of Spectre in a hectic teamfight? The answer is they don't, they die. You get haunted on, it gives vision of these 2 heroes that really require to sit in the back and stay out of vision to stay alive against Storm and Clockwork, and then the Spectre reveals them, goes on them with Manta, plus a Clocker, plus a Storm, and the fight kind of dissolves for Boom Esports. So one thing I learned from Aragi in this game that actually was pretty cool to me is he plays like very aggressive on this hero. I think the main reason why he does this is largely because of the fact that, well, I think there's 2 reasons. Number one, Jakiro is very good at level 1, right? Dual Breath is just a very powerful ability. And then on top of that, Mars is a pretty low armor hero. I honestly don't really know what FBZ was doing here. It kind of just eats the creep wave. But this is a really good recognition from Aragi to step over, slow down FBZ, and help out Seb with the trade. And yeah, that's just a big thing for me. I think the main advantage of Spectre in the lane is that you're pretty tanky, 5 armor with relatively high base HP regen that also kind of just got buffed, not by a lot. So I don't think that's why the hero is going to be meta, but it was buffed slightly, and you're very good against these low armor heroes that you can kind of run at. Now, in terms of his early items, he goes for a very weird build. He went for Wand into Bassi, into a Band of Elvenskin. The Band of Elvenskin is going to turn into treads, so that's where that comes from. You can use Band of Elvenskin to turn it into treads. It's funny how many people learn that from my videos. Like, people are like, what? You can use Band of Elvenskin to turn it into treads? Like, you don't have to buy the Belt of Strength? Yeah, you can buy any of the 450 gold stat items. But here's the key thing. Magic Wand is a must buy on Spectre. If you're not buying at least Stick, you don't even have to complete the full wand. I think this lane, the wand kind of makes sense, or seemingly makes sense, because Mars spams abilities, Shaman spams abilities, kind of. And so, yeah, you're going to get a lot of charges. On top of that, Spectre is a sustain hero in lane. You're not going to rush an Orb of Venom and solo kill the enemy offlaner. You need sustain items. And then the second thing you need is mana regen. Clearly, his idea with the Bassi here, I think, is that Jakiro needs a lot of mana regen. He needs a lot of mana regen. The Bassi's a good pickup with the wand. As long as Jakiro buys a ton of HP regen, which Seb did this game, then he's going to be absolutely vibing and actually able to put a decent amount of pressure with the Bassi, mana regen. But yeah, for the most part in the laning stage, just to wrap it up here, we'll talk more about the mid game. I honestly think that this hero really has to focus on playing very defensive in the lane. In the early levels, you can go a little bit aggressive, like your hero's armor and dispersion at level like 1, like when you have this level 2 spike, your hero's actually pretty good at going aggressive against the right matchups. But make sure if you are going to do that, you're doing it with your position 5. Otherwise, I don't think it's a good idea, and you should just be pulling creep aggro 80% of the lane. One thing to note as Spectre as well is you want to help out with kills basically as early as you can. Once you hit level 6, you should be actively looking for kills. Here, I mean, clearly this is a call out from BZM. I don't even think he saw the PA at the time he haunted on her. But in general, what you want to look to do is clean up on low HP heroes. I think his decision here to go on a full HP PA is reasonable because it's like synergized with BZM. But in general, I do not recommend you do what he did there, which is like try to make these preemptive haunt plays. Instead, look to clean up kills, make the safe play, and go from there. On top of that, in terms of skill build, he actually maxed out Dispersion this game and uses it to jungle. He kind of just auto-attacks camps to death, switches to intreads and daggers, and yeah, from this point on, he actually asks for the mid lane. This is something I see relatively often with Spectre because the thing about Spectre is that like if you stay in the safe lane for too long, against a lot of heroes, you just die to a gank and your game gets really bad. The nice thing about mid is the creep wave is very close to this small camp, and so yeah, it's very convenient to play there. It doesn't mean that you have to go mid every game. I think this kind of just is him being like, I can die to Arena plus Ember very easily, and so he kind of gets out, right? In fact, he's jungling very defensive camps. And this is why Spectre is like my least favorite carry to play. Like, it feels so inefficient to hit these camps, but technically it's the right play. It's like, you have to slow jungle neutral camps in defensive portions of the map, and technically it's correct. Unlike the majority of Dota heroes, this is not good. You don't want to be hitting some deep jungle camp. I think the only reason why he even hits this camp in the first place is because he wanted to do it and then go back to base, right? He wanted to kill this and then get mana, which I think is pretty reasonable. You can see he uses the dagger to go over the cliff and heads his way back to base. But one thing as well, if your team gets a chipped vest, you better scream in the mic to get it. It is honestly, in my opinion, the major reason that this hero could be viable. And you might be like, what? A neutral item? All right, to be fair, I'm sure if he didn't get a chipped vest, they still would have won this game. But I honestly believe that this is the best thing you can get in the early game by a long shot. Chipped vest with dispersion, it just makes jungling so much faster, like so much faster. It's unbelievable. One thing to note about Yuragi's farming as well is that he actually kills off every single creep besides one consistently. What I mean by this is he actually seemingly tries to use Desolate. And on top of that, I think the idea, and I'll show it to you in this clip here, right? So when he's killing this camp, he'll actually kill off creeps from full HP. And you might be like, Speed, okay, that's always what I do. Well, the thing is, that's not always what you should do. On a lot of heroes, if you have a cleave or an AoE ability, you should actually kill all the creeps together, right? If you're playing Alk, you don't just want to burst down creeps when you have Chemical Rage going because it's just not efficient, right? You can just let your acid spray finish off kills on the creeps. It saves time. But clearly here he believes that he needs to save HP and set up for the Desolate. And that's seemingly what he does here, right? Leaves one creep for last, actually bursts down creeps. What I mean by that is kills them off as quickly as he can. And that allows him to, I guess, save some HP. He has to end up going back to base, but he was at least able to kill off a double Ancient stack, which is kind of crazy, right? Because you don't have like some Psyblade. So yeah, it's pretty good. So next, let's take a look at the first major team fight that Yuragi is going to take. So one thing to note is that he actually doesn't really start this fight with Haunt. He actually kind of shows up with his hero, which is something that I always struggle with on Spectre. And I think the main reason why he does it here is he seemingly has determined that he wants to just straight up fight, right? He's like fight mode. And I think the main reason for this is BZM on the Storm Spirit has an Aegis. Now he ends up going for the Haunt here. He's going to provide vision of all the targets, and instantly what he's going to look for is to go on the Shadow Shaman, right? There's two targets he can go on, Shaman and Bane. We talked about this earlier. That's who he's going to go on. Bane currently has a haste, so that's not really worth your time. He's just going to run away. You don't have a slow, or, a stun. And so he tries to go on Tims. Now, unfortunately, isn't able to get the kill. Tims is a little bit too fast, which is why usually when you do Haunt in, you want to make sure there's a stun, right? You really want to make sure there's follow-up. He ends up getting gone on, but the thing about Spectre is that your hero is really, really tanky. He just completely eats through the arena, lives it very easily, has a wand, and can go back in. Tries to finish off the kill onto the Mars, but kind of understands, all right, I don't have really the resources to do this. No Manta, no Haunt, no Dagger, so he kites out. Funny enough, he tries to finish up the mid tower, gotta be as efficient as possible. I love these type of plays. It's just like, hey, major team fight going on against a bunch of pro players. Yeah, I'll just finish off the mid tower, but it's the right play. He gets him a lot of gold. He had to wait for his wand to come back up. He has to wait for his dagger to come back up. His Manta is still down for a while, so he's kind of waiting. you know, Jack Boys on the PA goes very out of position here, right? Kind of goes a little bit too far up, so it's easy for Yuragi just to sneak in some auto attacks, cleans him up, and the fight is definitely a success. On top of that, this fight keeps going on, and this is the nice thing about Spectre. While you do have Haunt as a major cooldown, once you have your Manta back up for the second time, this is usually when you can easily clean up teamfights. We'll see him shred through Tims on the back half of this fight, and Yopaj, I believe, goes down as well. The Desolate really coming into play in these long drawn-out teamfights when people get isolated. Alright, so in this upcoming engagement, we're going to see the Scotty timing come into play, and this is when your hero is pretty unstoppable. Also notice that it's actually okay to have a bit lower CS on Spectre than other heroes. For instance, if you're playing Naga Siren and you only have 190 CS at minute 25, you're wildly underfarmed. Same thing for a Wraith King or a Terrorblade, but for Spectre, it's actually okay. It's just important that you're hitting these major timings, because basically how this hero works as a Dota hero is its kit is just inherently valuable. You're wildly tanky, you have a W that just makes you do a ton of damage if you find an isolated target, and then your ulti is one of the most theoretically busted abilities in the game. It just gives vision of everyone, right, and does damage to everyone. Right, so basically, as long as you get to these two timings, you're gonna be useful. You don't have to be like the top of the net worth by a long shot, right? OG is dominating this game. They're 7k net worth ahead, and yet he's equal on farm with the PA, who's 2-4. He's 6-0, and they're the same net worth. That's okay, right? That's kind of what you're looking to do on this hero. So when you're looking at your net worth graphs, that's all right, right? The big thing is whether or not you're getting on top of the key targets in teamfights. And let's take a look at what Yuragi does here. So he's continuing to jungle, even when you have Scotty. You can kind of let your team go in first. You should never really siege on Spectre, by the way, but as the fight breaks out, gonna use the Haunt, gives vision, and finds the Mars on the side. I think the big thing to understand here, or even something that I learned here, is that you don't always have to go on the supports. In fact, I think what this Haunt does is it makes the supports freak out, right? Every single support, when they get haunted on and you're playing a hero like Bane or Shaman, you gotta know that there's a good chance you can die. On top of that, he has no team here, right? His whole team is here. So it's a much safer decision for him to just go on the Mars and take out this Mars. On top of that, Desolate actually pierces spell immunity and does pure damage through spell immunity. So in a game like this against the Mars, who has something like Bulwark and a BKB, usually this Mars is pretty unkillable, right? Not the case against the Spectre, right? Not the case against the Spectre. The Mars ends up taking a fall through BKB, through Bulwark. That's pretty insane, right? Like, this is a hero that is insanely hard to kill, but he ends up going down, and on top of that, the Haunt sets up for the Storm, which is why this is a classic combo. Storm Spectre has been a combo for a really long time, and for pretty obvious reasons. You just click BKB on Storm, you go on some support that's getting auto-attacked by a Spectre illusion, and they die, right? It's like really, really cool. You can see it from BZM's perspective. I love this combo so much, right? He goes in, finds Schem on the Bane, the Schem is already low from the illusion, and it's then an easy kill from there, and BZM can continue to go in because he has full vision, he has full information of where everyone is. So a little bit of a crazy go from BZM there. Could have gotten chains and died. But either way, well played fight from Yuragi. Good discipline not to overextend there and take out the Mars, understanding that he is the damage for Mars through the BKB, especially when the Mars is isolated. And so basically what's really cool to me about Yuragi's gameplay is that, well, or what I learned is that you don't really necessarily have to just always go for the backline. That was kind of my impression of this hero, but that's not what he does at all. In fact, consistently in these teamfights, twice in a row now, he's actually just gone on the Mars. The Mars pops BKB and goes on the backline, and, you know, for a hero like Tims here, Tims can't do anything to the Spectre. What is he gonna do? Yeah, he's gonna try to shackle him, you know, maybe. It's a little bit hard with all these illusions going out as well, but he just completely prevents FBZ from killing off Seb, right? The pressure from Yuragi saves Seb. And it enables the Jakiro to stay alive and continue the fight, and it as well just kills off FBZ. The Bane and the Shaman can't go in because they're just too afraid of all the counters. Frankly, it's a very hard game to play Bane and Shaman. I think this draft from OG was quite cool. They saw the Bane and the Shaman, and they responded with Jakiro Clockwork, which is like two heroes that Bane and Shaman hate playing against. Why? They have long-range catch. And this is really good against Shackle, it's really good against Grip. It just makes it very hard for those heroes to play the game and actually get off their long duration disables that are channeled. For his final item, Yuragi ends up going the Axe here, and he even got a shard from Roche. I didn't even know Spectre had this shard. It's been so long since I've seen this hero in pubs, but he takes the shard, and what it does is every 7 seconds, or once every 7 seconds max, if you take 300 damage, it shoots a dagger at a hero, which is like kind of good. It's like frankly pretty freaking good. gives a lot of vision, throws out a lot of slows. It is only every 7 seconds, which if it was just every 300 damage, this would be the most busted shard in the game, so it's definitely well balanced. After that, he goes for his Zags. What that does is it gives you a mini haunt every 40 seconds. You can do a single target haunt, and you know, it's basically good when you have a lot of pick off like Storm and Clock, because you can follow it up. Otherwise, if you don't have all this pick off, I honestly think it's better to just go like a DPS item. I think Orchid's pretty good. He's even queued up the Moon Shard here. I actually really like that. The reason why I like Moon Shard is it works incredibly well with Desolate, right? You just have this like flat damage ability that just claps. And so essentially, you know, attack speed works on Mantas. It used to not, it does now. It has for the past few years, I think, but your attack speed works on illusions. And so your illusions just shred, like they shred. And so once again, I would only really go this like Manta build though. Like, I mean, this like Moon Shard build if you have stuns. And the reason why is if you buy a lot of attack speed, but you get kited very easily, you're not going to be able to use that attack speed, right? However, if you do have, you know, 3 stuns on your team, you're going to be able to just get off a wild amount of damage with this Moon Shard. I do believe that Moon Shard, probably outside of Bloodthorn, if you can use the active and it doesn't get purged, Moon Shard's probably the highest DPS item you could buy on Spectre. Once again, outside of maybe Bloodthorn, which is like way more expensive. But alright, that's going to be about the end of today's video as he throws an illusion onto the onto the shaman that does get dispelled. But he ends up going back for the butterfly. I think the main reason why is his only counter here is the PA, who can jump him with her shard and break him and try to kill him through the dispersion, right, when it's down. But either way, he just waits for his Zags to come back up. This game is going to end very, very soon as the Storm goes in for a deep jump onto the Bane, cleans him up, mini haunt onto FBZ, and he's doing a ton of damage to this Mars, just completely kicks him out of the fight for the 1,000,000th time, wasting the BKB duration of the Mars, right? He gets basically nothing out of it. And so yeah, I guess what I'll end this video on is whether or not I think Spectre's a good hero. Honestly, I think the answer to that question is still usually meh, is what I'll say. I think in your average pub, let's say 2, 3, 4K MMR games, the hero is fine. But I think in this game, in terms of like high level games and what we'll see in the pro scene, I think what we'll end up seeing is a hero that is picked situationally when you have a lane dominating support, which you can pick specifically for Spectre. But when you're against heroes like Shaman Bane, right? When you're against a Shaman Bane, 2 heroes you can pick on because they don't have mobility, right? For instance, if you're against like Pugna Wyvern, I don't think that's nearly as good for Spectre personally, because you're just gonna have a hard time killing these heroes. They have disengage abilities, and even though it's like one ability, it's like the Crep and then Arctic Burn, it's like sometimes that's just enough to make Spectre not that good in teamfights. And so I don't think we're gonna see this hero being spammed at the major by any means. I don't think this hero is broken by any means, even though that's definitely what the title says of the video. But alright, I'll see you guys in the next one, and I'm out. Peace!
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the gameleap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.